Hello and welcome to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Alexis Blake. I'm a transgender woman and I share my life and stories on social media. And today I want to talk about hormone replacement therapy. So basically what that is in a nutshell, the hormones that I take to transition from male to female. If you're trans yourself, if you're thinking you're trans, or if you just want to learn about this is a video for you. So let's go. So I'm going to go chronologically with the changes that the hormones did to my body and everything like that. So right at the start, which was about 15 months ago when I started taking hormone replacement therapy for my transition, the first major change I saw within the first week of changing from male hormones to female hormones was my emotions. My emotions went wild. Before taking hormones, I did have obviously emotions, but they were more muted. They were more like mellow and chilled, if that kind of makes sense. But then when I started taking hormones, all of my emotions were heightened. So I was much happier and I was much sadder and I got mood swings. So something I noticed as well as time went on, when my dose got changed for my hormones, whenever that would happen and I'd have a spike in estrogen, I would have the worst mood swings. So if you are someone who's going to start taking hormones at some point, please prepare yourself. You will get angry at the smallest things. It just happens. It's natural because the body is running on a completely different hormone. Even to present day now, so fast forward in the 15 months, my emotions are still like this. I'm not, like if you imagine, like in hospitals when they have the beeper things and it shows someone's heart, my emotions used to be more like this, whereas now they're like this, if that makes any sense. And that is still very much the case. For instance, when I get my injection, which blocks my testosterone, I have that once every 3 months. When I have that, I go like this. So because all of the testosterone is being drained out of my body, so I get very low and upset, and then I get mood swings as well. So definitely emotions is a huge one to touch on first. That's the first thing that I noticed. Secondly, within a few weeks of being on hormones, I got hot sweats, hot flashes, whatever you want to call it. So because I obviously had a lot of testosterone in my body to begin with, and then I was adding estrogen in, you do experience some symptoms. I'm not going to say it's like the menopause, but they mirror some of the symptoms, let's say. So I had a lot of hot flashes. I'd just be at work and then the backs of my knees would start sweating. That's how hot I was getting. And obviously that would fuel my emotions and my anger and my mood swings. So hot flashes, definitely, that's a thing. So the next change that I noticed was a couple of months in. I'd not seen any physical changes. It was all sort of internal to begin with. The first physical change that I noticed was my skin started to change. So before I started taking hormone replacement therapy, I did have somewhat mild acne. My skin was very oily and prone to breakouts, and I had just usual man skin, I guess. But then I started taking hormones, and after a few months, I noticed my blemishes started to clear up, which was a godsend. And it does happen when you go from male to female. Sometimes the hormones can help balance out in your body and you get rid of your acne, which I loved. Because obviously acne, it's a huge insecurity for anyone, isn't it? Like, it makes you feel really self-conscious. And I was just so glad that that really helped with that. And something else I also noticed, my skin on my body, it got a lot softer. So it wasn't coarse before, but my skin really, really smoothed out. And on my face, it smoothed out, but also it went from oily to dry. So I used to have really oily skin here, and then with the hormones, it dried my face out. But overall, my skin got softer. The next sort of change that I noticed was my hair on my body. So I'm not talking about from the neck up, that's separate, but from like here down, the body hair that I grew. I wasn't particularly a hairy man, but I did get body hair, chest hair, little tiny bit of back hair, things like that. That started to reduce, which was super handy because I was shaving all the time. So my body hair started to thin out. It was growing back slower and finer and softer. So shaving my legs went from every 2 days to every week, for instance. I could stretch it out more because the hair wasn't as dark and thick and coarse, which is amazing. The hair that I used to get on my back, I used to get a little bit of back hair. That's completely gone now. It doesn't grow at all anymore. And in regards to my chest and underarms, I have had laser to help that along. But with the hormones, I could see it was already reducing drastically in the way that it was growing, and then the laser just sort of helped get rid of it. So for sure, hair reduction, which is an amazing thing as well. However, hormone replacement therapy, if you're going from male to female, it doesn't affect your facial hair whatsoever. So I don't know how it works, but it just doesn't. I had no change in my beard, let's say. So I've had, I don't even know at this point, 23, 24 sessions of laser and some electrolysis to reduce and get rid of my beard. I still have a little bit left on my upper lip that I use makeup to cover, but I'm almost there. So hormones won't change your beard, unfortunately. There is some hormones that I didn't take that can help regrow hair, but I had a transplant surgery, a hair transplant surgery, to restore my hairline and make it more feminine. I do have another video on that if you're interested in learning about that, I guess. So it was at about month 6 where I noticed more prominent physical changes, let's say. So stereotypically, I guess, men tend to carry their weight in their belly, whereas women carry it on their hips. That's a very generalized stereotype, I do know. But I carried my weight on my stomach. I always have. So whenever I gain weight, I gained it on my tummy and on my chin. That's just how it happened. So what I noticed from about month 6, I didn't really notice much before that, but on month 6, I looked in the mirror and I just felt like I started to go in a little bit on my waist, which I'd never had. I was always very much straight up and down. So I started to notice these slight curves developing. My hips got maybe a little bit bigger. The back side got a little bit bigger, and my stomach wasn't as big as it was. And I think the body fat was just moving itself around the body. So with hormones, it doesn't literally grab your fat and move it to where it wants to go. What happens is, as your body naturally loses and gains weight, because we're always losing and gaining weight, just mildly. So whenever you lose a little bit of weight, it comes off the male fat, let's call it. And then with the hormones, when you regain it back, it puts it in a more feminine place. I could do a whole video on that as well, because that's really complicated to explain. But basically, my body fat changed, and it carries it different on my body and also on my face. And that's been one of the biggest, hugest changes that I can't tell you what has changed, but it's completely changed. That makes no sense. So that was my face before, and the fat on my face has completely redistributed. I've only had one surgery on my face, which was a lip surgery that lifted my lip up, but I've had no fat, no fillers or anything like that on my face. And the angles of my jaw, my cheekbones, my eyebrows seem to be, everything just sits more femininely, and I can't explain why or how, but my face feminized with the fat and everything like that. Obviously bone structure, my jaw and my large Adam's apple, that won't change with hormones, but the fat and everything like that has definitely feminized on my face. A couple of things that I didn't expect to happen is that my feet have shrunk by a tiny little bit lengthwise, and they've narrowed out. I did take pictures and measurements, so they've roughly shrunk like by 1/4 of an inch, and they've got a little bit narrower, and I've shrunk 1 inch in height. And I've tried to figure this out. I've tried to Google it and look at other people's stories and what's happened with them, and if I try and find an explanation or a medical explanation as to why I've shrunk in height. I used to be 5'11", and now I'm 5'10". And what I gather online is that the pelvis starts to rotate forward because the body's now running on female hormones. The hips start to rotate forward, and that can make you shrink a tiny bit, if that makes sense. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just giving you my experiences of what I've sort of learned along the way. But I definitely have shrunk, which has been a very strange thing to happen. I'm still relatively tall at 5'10", but I was happy I shrunk an inch. I just measured myself one day and I was like, whoa, I'm shorter. Okay, that's a thing. One thing that also changed that I didn't expect was the veins in like my hands. You can kind of see them here. They used to be more bulbous and thick, and in my body where you could see my veins before, they've sort of shrunk down a lot. So yeah, that happened as well. One more thing I forgot to mention as well when I was talking about body fat, things do develop as well. The rule of thumb is, but not for all trans women, but generally you get to an A or a B cup depending on what sort of body size and type you're starting out at. I started out relatively slim, so I've sort of got to an A cup. which for my frame and build and everything like that, I would like to change. They say you can keep developing over the course of several years. Things will constantly develop. I think like 3 years is when you get to your sort of maximum change with hormones. I'm only a year and a half in now, so more changes should come, but I'm not expecting too much more sort of growth in this area. So I will be looking at getting a breast augmentation in a couple of months' time, because that is a huge source of my gender dysphoria. And I just know that the hormones aren't going to get me to where I want to be. So that's something I'm going to sort of look into. That was a brief overview of hormones. If you have any questions, please let me know, because I've probably missed like a million things. I just sort of spoke about all the main things. Let me know below what you want me to answer, and maybe I'll just put them all in another video and answer all your guys' questions. But yeah, if you're starting your journey as a trans woman, good luck, congratulations, that's amazing. And I'm so proud of you and excited for you. And just remember, it's not a race. It will all happen in time. If I could go back and give myself advice, I would say, just calm down. It will come in time, and just take a breath on it. Try not to rush and stress, because it will happen. Okay, that's me done. I'm rambling now. I hope you all have a lovely, lovely day. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoy this kind of content, whether you're trans or not, don't forget to I can't even speak. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel. I release 1 or 2 videos every week, and YouTube shorts talking about my life journey experiences, things like that. And if that's something that interests you, then don't forget to subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.